Hello everyone, and welcome to video number 2 for the makeup demo. In this video, I will be going over your face, bases, foundation, contour, highlight, all of that jazz. So I'm starting off with CeraVe. It is non-scented, and I'm just going to be putting this all over my face. You can use just a regular primer, a facial primer, but I prefer a lightweight, non-scented moisturizer. I'm really trying to get it all over my face. Down the neck is really important, on the eyelids, and just, trying to cover as much surface area as possible. All right, now moving right along, I have this little square here. This comes in everybody's Ben Nye kit. It has a highlight, a contour, a lipstick color, and a blush. If you don't know how to separate the colors or you don't know which is which, it is listed on the back there. So this is what we're going to be starting with, along with this Ben Nye foundation that also comes in everybody's kit. And you will be using both of those for your face today. So I'm starting with the sponge that comes in the kit, and I'm going into the highlighter portion of the palette here, and I'm going to be putting it on what I like to call my T-zone. So I'm putting this highlighter underneath my eyes. I will also be putting it on the tip of my nose and on the bridge of my nose. I'm putting it on my forehead. It will go on my Cupid's bow and on my chin. These are the highest parts of the face, which will really illuminate when you're on stage. And I just want to pack on as much as I can. Now that we've used that, we're going right into the contour shade here. And I'll be using the same sponge, just a different corner so I don't make it too muddy. And I'll be going about halfway through my cheek, lined up. You don't want to pull it too far forward because it can make your face look muddy. And then I'll be lining it up from the top of my ear to the corner of my mouth. I'm also going to be putting this contour on my temples to create a little bit of dimension and right across the forehead. And now, after I've covered those areas, I will be putting whatever is left over on the sponge around my jaw and on the bridge of my nose, just to create a little bit of lift, a little bit of dimension for those stage lights. And this is what you should be looking like for now. Next, I will be using a clean sponge, and I'll be going into the foundation color of the palette, and I'm going to be putting it in every spot that I have not put any other makeup on. You want to avoid the line between your contour and your highlight. You don't want to put any makeup on there because that's where the blush is going to go. But aside from that, I'm filling in every other space, and it's really important, very, very important, that you pull your foundation down the neck. I am a little bit lighter colored in skin tone than the palette, so I am going into the highlighter just a little bit and blending the two together to bring it down my neck, so there's a little bit of a seamless blend so it doesn't look too crazy. And this is about where we should be sitting for application. And after I applied all of those things, I'll be going into the blush tone of the palette. I've used two sides of the sponge, so I'm going to use the top side, trying to keep all of these colors separated from each other. And I'll be putting the blush in between the highlight and the contour on my cheekbone. You can see there's a very clear definition between where the highlight, the blush, and the contour will be sitting on the face. And for the final step, I'm taking the sponge that I used for the foundation, and I will be blending everything in. You want to start with the lightest shade to the medium shade, the medium to the blush to the contour. You always want to go lightest to darkest, because if you go darkest to lightest or any other direction, you can make the makeup look really, really muddy, and we don't want that to happen. It's really important that when you are blending everything together, you use a very clean stipple motion. As you can see here, I'm blending the highlight and foundation into the blush, so there's a nice seamless blend here, and I'm really, really emphasizing that stipple motion. If you drag, it can end up pulling your makeup off your face, so it is really important that you just press and lightly tap it in. And now that all of that is blended in, we're going to be moving on to the contour. I am just gently stippling it down my jawline. Don't forget about this part. It is important that your jaw looks blended. You don't want to end up with a 5 o'clock shadow. And then after blending in my jawline, I will be blending in my cheek contour. I am focusing again really hard on that stipple, trying not to lift the makeup too much with a dragging motion because that will pull the makeup off your face. And I am making sure to blend it away from my face. So I'm starting at the corner of my mouth and pulling towards my ear, and then blending into my temple, into my forehead. It's really important that you blend your contour and your makeup up into your hairline, because we want to make this makeup look as seamless as possible. It's not quite the same extent of stage makeup that I have done demos for you guys on before. This makeup is based off of real life, and unless everybody from the 80s had incredibly high and defined cheekbones, and my facts are totally wrong, I just want to keep everything nice and simple, but still have enough definition just to handle those intense overhead stage lights. And now that we have all of that blended in, I'm just going to be going back in with that highlighting sponge and softening the contour and highlight lines on my nose. We don't want it to be too intense, but I do want to make it look like I have a little bit of a nose structure. And then I will be putting a little bit of leftover residue on that highlight end of the sponge underneath that contour, just to make it a little bit more defined, because the stage lights can be a little bit harsh. But we don't want to look too crazy. And then this is kind of where we should be sitting for now. Now that everything has been blended in, we're going to be moving on to the setting part of the makeup. I'll be using the translucent powder that came in your Ben Nye kit, along with that powder puff sponge. I do also like using this angled sponge. If you don't have one, that is okay. You can use the highlighting end of the sponge that you used before, but I do prefer using my own angled sponge. It doesn't really matter, but I will be taking the powder and really pressing it under the eyes. It's important that that has a lot of powder pushed in, because you don't want to end up with too much creasing under the eyes. I have a feeling everybody's going to be sweating a lot. So it's really important that you just press that in as best you can into the highlighted areas of the face. So I'm going back into my T-zone, anywhere that I put the lightest shade on my face. And then I will be going into the blush side of the palette now and just adding a little bit more, because it is 80s inspired makeup, and the ladies really liked their blush at the time. And as you can see here, I'm just blending that out, making it look nice and seamless. I will eventually be going back in with more blush, but that won't be until the next video. And ladies, you definitely do not have to do that. There is just a specific makeup look that I am going for, which is why I want a little bit of a heavier blush look. But aside from that, I am taking this little powder puff with that translucent powder, and I'm pressing this into every square inch of my face. It is so important that you get in all of these crevices, because those stage lights are going to be super hot, and if you do not set your face and you start sweating, it's just all going to come off, and we don't want that. And now we've come to the end in this video. We have covered everything from your base, so your highlight, your contour, your foundation, how to blend everything and make sure that everything is set. This is what my face is looking like. But yeah, this is the end of video number 2, and I will see you guys over in video number 3.